All right, welcome back. We are ACI Course 12, second half of Class 6. It's April 13th, 2026, where I am. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, and see them there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning about emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And that longing into an intention. And with a strong intention, we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet. To become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, please, please teach me that. Show me that. Help me become that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the pure world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands. And we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, four lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make these the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamnirya Tayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. So we are studying Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. Bodhisattva's way of life is that way of life that helps us move towards our total Buddhahood. And we're on the chapter about wisdom, the perfection of wisdom. And recall that ordinarily we think of the perfection of wisdom as meaning the direct perception of emptiness, which it does mean that. But then we would think that this chapter is about how to have the direct perception of emptiness. And we're like not really finding that it's talking about that at all, that it's talking about like what do we need to understand about ourselves and our world in order to stop perpetuating the mistake that is perpetuating the suffering, that is perpetuating our own perception of ourselves and our world as suffering, being in a suffering world. Because when we understand what emptiness is, empty up, what emptiness refers to. It gives us just first this glimpse of the possibility, which still seems very, very far away. And as we work with it, study it, chew on it, meditate on it, that glimpse of it being so far away becomes a clearer picture of how close, how even immediate this transformation can be. So we're growing our understanding of what it is we'll come to understand with our direct perception of emptiness imbued by bodhicitta, so that that experience will put us on the conveyor belt to Buddhahood as opposed to the conveyor belt to nirvana. So we've been talking about emptiness, but remember that when we say emptiness, we don't just mean a big black hole or a vacuum in space, nothing there at all. We mean the absence of something, in an absence of something. And then we're trying to figure out what is that something that when we try to find it, we can't find it, but we don't find nothing. Like if it were easy, we wouldn't have to do these classes again and again and again. So Geshe-la's been taking us through, like tiptoeing us through the coming to understand better and better what we mean by emptiness and dependent origination, emptiness and seeds ripening. Because our mind that's still colored with the belief in self-existence, when we think, oh, emptiness means there's no self-existence, there's a part of our mind, my mind at least, that still goes, oh, well, then there's no existence at all, which is, right, completely ridiculous, because here I am, right? We can't deny our existence validly. So my mind slips off that cliff and then bounces right back. And then as it bounces back, if I'm really careful, I watch and it's like, no, my mind is saying there's something that's there. And because it's still colored with misunderstanding, just to have that thought, there's something that's there, means by there, means some part of it, something about it in it, from it. Because then when I even start to look at that, like my mind wants to justify that because it's comfortable. Yeah, there's something pennish about this thing. Come on. It's not a bicycle that I'm holding. It's not a banana. It's a pen. Yes, everybody will see it unique to them, but come on. We all see a pen unique to us. When highest middle way says, no. So we had just started last class into the question, well, if the whole pen isn't a whole pen, for all those reasons that we've come to recognize so clearly, and we understand that what's happening is my eyeball can pick up information, and then it's my mind that puts whole pen on the object. we would want to know. Yeah, but what about the color and shape? That has to be there first, right? In order to get my projection pen to land on it. If it's not there, nowhere to land. Has to be there. Well, then, but what then makes, what makes this red? Like now you can't even see it, right? Not enough to see. But once you see it, it's like, no, it's red. It's red in it. But, right, so we went through, what about the data? And we talk about it from an object that doesn't really matter too much to us. So it's not threatening to go looking for the data, looking for what makes this a real pen, to come up short, to find that, oh my gosh, there's nothing that makes it a real pen. And then to go, oh, and so it is this real pen that I have. Instead of going, there's nothing about this real pen, and going off the, well, so it must not be there at all. It must just be my imagination. If everything's my imagination, who cares, right? I'm even my imagination. What fun. Let's do anything we want, imagine anything we want. If we could imagine Buddhahood, we'd just do it. So pens, bicycles, who cares? What about that angry yelling boss? That other person who's the cause of my distress? Come on. There is a person there. They are an unpleasant person, mostly. Where is that coming from? What are those parts? And we dabbled a little bit with that as well. But then if we were serious, we'd go, wait. What about me? Like, is what I learned about the angry yelling boss true about me? Nice, kind me, always. Everybody knows me as nice, kind me, except, right? Those ants I'm fighting with who are now in the dishwasher. Now what do I do? What about me? The whole me that has a body, that has a mind, this self-existent me that's suffering. What about that? Master Shantideva, are you saying that there's no real me? And it's like, there is a me. It's about the only thing I know for sure. And so he says, let's look at the emptiness of the whole person. Okay? And so we can think he means other person, and it can, or we can say, ooh, let's look at my person. And if we believe, not if, we believe there's a me that exists in me, from me, your me, right? And my me. He says, if there is such a thing, then, and it's a changing thing, which it is, then it must be made up of parts. And if something's made up of parts, then there should be a part that we can find that holds that me. If there can be a person or an object or an experience that exists really meaning the way we experience it to exist, then that's what we mean by to be self-existent. So again, that word, my own mind, I need to keep clarifying what I mean by self-existent. I do not mean anything exists totally independent of any other factor. I know everything depends on something. But what I don't know from direct experience is that everything depends on my ripening karmic seeds, making it be what it is for me, right? I know it intellectually, but it's not my experience as I experience things. So when we're talking self-existent, what things depend upon for their reality depends on the level of understanding of karma and emptiness that we're operating from, which is why we learn the 6 different ways that Lord Buddha taught things do and don't exist. So Master Shantideva was pushing us to the higher of those ways because we're Mahayana, we're studying Mahayana. Mind only, lower middle way, higher middle way. So he started out saying, if we believe there's a self-existent me in a self-existent world, then we need to go show ourselves the self-existent parts that make up that self-existent me. Because if they do have some identity of their own, we should be able to find it, pinpoint it, and go, see, there is the most basic building block of this thing called me. And if I can find its most basic building block as in it from it, well, then you take multiple building blocks, you put them all together, and you've got me in me from me, right? Self-existent, not depending on other things, but my own reality. So he says, in order to show ourselves our lack of self-existence, which is our emptiness, we need to go looking for the self-existence we believe is there and see if we can ever find it. And he says, in order to do that, we can break down the different parts of ourself, what we hold to be ourself, and go looking. Because we need some systematic way of doing this. Otherwise, we need to check like every aspect of every moment of every experience, and that will take forever. Like it does take forever anyway. But you don't have to do every detail if we can lump things into categories. So remember when we learned that chart, all existing things, changing things, unchanging things, changing things that are material, mental, changing things that are neither, and then unchanging things over here. This is why we got familiar with that. All we have to do is find something in each one of these categories, prove something about it, and it will hold true for everything in that category, right? Simplifying things. So we've done it with the pen. We've done it a little bit with the other person. And Geshe-la took us through investigating this with our own person, starting with the body, looking for the self-existent body that we think makes up our me. We are made up of my mind and my body. And so we looked for the basic building block of body, and we decided it was the smallest physical particle that could be found. And that if the smallest physical particle has its own nature, then two of them together have their own nature, and bazillion of them together has their own nature. And so the me that has that body can have my own nature. And so, ta-da, I am self-existent. But if when we find that smallest particle of my physical body's existence, and I find, oh my gosh, the self nature I thought it had, it doesn't have? Yikers. How can a not self-existent particle be the basic building block of my body and my body be self-existent? Hey, if you have trillions of not self-existent particles coming together to make a thing, then the thing that's just been made is not self-existent. I mean, it gets pretty obvious. If you need millions of particles to put together a whole, the whole is not self-existent because the whole depends on those zillions of particles. Duh. But that's not quite enough for us to go, oh, because we never thought our body was self-existent in that way. We know it's made of parts. But we think the parts have some nature of their own. No, those are made of parts too. Well, what about those parts, those parts, those parts? Right? And so we came to this conclusion that a cement sidewalk is not hard. Did we come to that conclusion? A cement sidewalk is not hard. But wait, I'll crack my head on it. My head is hard, the cement's hard. You whack the two together, the one that's less hard is going to break. But is it hard in it from it? No. Is my head hard in it from it? Smarty would say yes. And so, again, what's the ramification of showing ourselves that this thing, physical body, is made up of atoms, etc. But those very atoms it's made up of, their reality is more subtle information that receives a concept, atoms that make up my body. It means my own thing I call my body is nothing but information that receives a concept that makes it my body. And if we really understood, we would hear those words and go, oh, what a relief. Now I know the real nature of this thing. When we don't quite understand, we hear that this body is nothing but information that receives a concept. And we'd go, well, how can that be real? How can that fall off a bike and crack my head on sidewalk if it's not, it's only a concept? You know, what do we hear when we say concept? We hear idea, right? I can't crack my head on an idea. Can I have the idea, crack my head on a sidewalk? Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm doing it, thank goodness. So when we say, right, a concept put onto information, there's a part of us that goes, oh, so not real. Oh, so that angry yelling boss that's upsetting me so much, she's not real. This is all like a dream, an illusion. So nothing matters. Whoop, wrong conclusion. When in fact, we recognize, oh my gosh, these concepts imposed onto information is all that's ever been. And all of it is forced on me because just because now that I know it, I can't decide to have different concepts. No, I'll think of this as Buddha paradise and it will be Buddha paradise. Can we have an imaginary concept? Yes, we'll talk about that when we are in course 15 in Mind Only School. Do we make mental seeds when we haven't, when we are imposing an imaginary concept? Yes, we do. And that can be useful and it can be dangerous. And that tiptoes into Diamond Way. So sorry, I'm getting distracted. So last class, we were digging into the looking for the smallest self-existent particle of our physical being, our body. And I think we got to the point where we were recognizing that at whatever level I'm looking, I'm finding what I'm really finding is sensory information that's receiving a concept, an idea that makes the thing what it is, what it appears to be in that moment. And that this data that we believe has to be there first. What we find is there's just more subtle data that receives a different label. And we just keep going down, down, down. We never find nothing, as in we don't end up in, oh, there's no such thing as existence at all. What we find is, oh, nothing exists in any other way than this. So all those things that we believed had their own natures in them, from them, all of that was my mistaken view. That at every moment, what's happening is information receiving a label. And even as I say that, I'm still experiencing myself believing, well, the information is out there. It's just undifferentiated until my concept differentiates it. And that's a useful level to stay at for a while, but it's not actually accurate. So we left off at having explored the emptiness of our body to switching over to, well, let's do the same thing about our mind. If my self-existent me has a mind and a body, and we just showed that the body is nothing but mental labels put onto parts, then is that true for my mind as well? And remember, what we're looking for really is the self-existent me, which is sort of silly, right? Because if my self-existent me depends on having a body and a mind, where is that self-existent me? Which is why we're doing this, right? To show ourselves, oh, whoops, the very premise we started with was absurd, but it wasn't absurd when we started. So when we say the emptiness of our mind, again, check You're understanding what its emptiness means. Are we saying we don't really have a mind? We're going to show ourselves our mind is empty of existence. No, of course not. Are we saying that we think there's something there that we're going to find is in fact absent? But doesn't finding it absent kind of imply that it used to be there? You know, you go to the neighbor's house, you think they're home, you knock on the door, you get no answer. Oh, they're not home. But you only went there because you thought they were home. And usually they are home. So when we go looking for our self-existent mind, we think there's something there, but we're going to go knocking on the door and we're going to find that it's not there. But then our tendency will be, well, it's just not there right now. They'll be back later. It's like, no. When we show ourselves that lack of self-existence of our own mind, sooner or later, that's going to take. And we're not going to go back to expecting it to come home because we show ourselves that there's no such thing and never was and never could be, totally impossible. And Geshe-la's so skillful at that, to not leave us wobbling between what's really there versus not there at all, versus what is there moment by moment by moment by moment. Right? Our concept, my mind, is always present. But the my mind we are conceiving of isn't and never has. Slippery. So let's dig in. If my mind is a real thing, a self-existent thing, then it should be made up of self-existent parts, shouldn't it? And we should be able to go looking for one of those self-existent parts. And because it exists, self-existently, we should be able to find it. And then we'll be able to find how two of those come together, and three and four, and then we'll be able to find this self-existent mind that we believe we have. So again, clarify, what do you mean by your self-existent mind? Because I know my mind isn't self-existent. It depends on all kinds of other factors. But I do think that I have a mind that experiences stuff, things that experiences. That's what the mind does, experience. And that's the mind we're looking for, right? The one we believe so strongly is a thing which is made up of parts. Okay, so what would be, well, what would we say is the parts of our mind? Just what popped into my mind was my brain. And it's like, whoa, that's an ancient thought, that my brain and my mind are the same thing. I hadn't thought that in a long time. But see, it's still in there because it popped up. Oh, the hippocampus, the frontal lobe, right? It's like, no, that's nowhere close to the parts of my mind. The parts of my mind are my awarenesses, right? Awareness of this. Oh, I'm here in class. I'm hearing my talk. Right. It's going by so fast. We can barely recognize the parts of our mind. So like the physical body, we found a basic building block. What do you think we'd say is the basic building block of this thing, our mind? Is our mind the word thoughts that go through? No, it's the one that's aware of those words thoughts, right? Is it the one that's aware that feels hurt by the yelling boss? No, it's the aware of feeling hurt by the yelling boss. So this thing, mind, its parts are moments of awareness. That's what the mind is moments of awareness. So if we're going to look for the mind that has its own reality, its own nature, we have to look in moments of awareness. We would want to find the most basic moment of awareness that is there already, or is there always, that gets put together with other moments of awareness to end up being, oh, my mind over time. So that's called Shepe Kechikme Gyun. Gyun means stream, mind stream, which is a common term in Buddhist circles. Oh, my mind stream. And it's a good analogy, but for me, it's limiting. But when I'm using it, remember before we had this image, we're sitting at the side of a stream, we're enjoying the stream, the whole stream. I mean, we're not aware of the whole stream, but it's the stream. And then if we wanted to zero in and we were to freeze frame a moment of that stream and then let it go and freeze frame a next one, are what's in those two freeze frames the same? No, right? Different water molecules, different amoebas, different algae, different stuff in each freeze frame. And that water's flowing by at the speed of water, whatever. And moment by moment by moment, we're never experiencing the same stream, are we? And yet that whole time, we are experiencing the same stream. It's not a different stream. It's not the ocean. So our mind is similar. Like if we could step out of our mind and be able to watch it, it'd be going by like the stream of water. But if you freeze frame it at any instant, it's a different awareness moment by moment by moment by moment. So if then we're thinking, well, at any given moment that we freeze frame it, that's where I should be able to find my actual piece of my mind that when you put it with the next one and the next one and the next one makes up this stream of my mind. And those pieces are called kechikme. The pieces of my mind are shepe kechikme. So when we go looking for the self-existence of our mind to find the emptiness of our mind, we use this idea of shepe kechikme gyum, the instances of awareness, my mind stream. So they're saying this mind stream is made up of instances of awareness. So let's find one of those instances of awareness that we can investigate. And already it's starting to get slippery. Because for instances of awareness, we might start out saying, look, there were instances of awareness, and there are gonna be instances of awareness. But in fact, The only instant of awareness that I can experience is the current moment awareness. Is that right? Can we experience a past moment of awareness? No, it's past. Can we experience a future moment of awareness? No, it hasn't happened yet. So if there's such a thing as a self-existent moment of awareness, it has to be now. Do you see where it's going? Okay, now. Wait, now. Wait, let's investigate now. Wait, wait, stop. Now, would you stop? Would you hold still long enough that I can investigate you? That's really enough to go, oh my gosh. Then how is it that I have a mind that's independent of that moment that I can't even find, that's dependent on those moments of mind to be the mind that's independent of it? Do you see how crazy we are? And yet, the instant somebody yells at us, oh, right? My mind goes, they're doing that to me, me, right? It doesn't go, wow, this is really weird. Like, what's going on in this moment with my mind? Why am I reacting like this? Why am I experiencing what I'm experiencing? It would be like, the old image of the hippie in the 70s who's so high, wow, man, what's going on? We would be like that if we if we would be like that. So that's not the point of this lecture. The point is, how do we investigate for this self-existent moment of the mind that we must have because we're so sure we have a mind that is made up of those moments of awareness. Because if those moments of awarenesses don't exist, then neither does my mind, and that's ridiculous. So the current moment of our mind, can we find it? No, because by the time we go looking for it, it's past. But we're in it moment by moment. Yes, but what part of it are we in? The beginning, the middle, or the end? Because if my mind's made up of a stream of those moments, bing, 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 there has to be one that touches the next, that touches the next, that touches the next. And if that's true, then there has to be, just like the physical atoms, there has to be a moment that's the beginning, and there must be a moment of its end for it to go from this one to that one. And of course, it's just like, well, it can't be working that way because you can't even find the moment of now. So you can't find the beginning of now or the end of now. And yet, my experience is such that I'm experiencing things changing, changing, changing. So this data for our minds is moments of awareness. But what we recognize is that this thing we call our mind is a concept applied to the collection of moments of awareness that have made up my life, right? My life. My mind is the idea that we impose onto this information awareness, 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 awareness. And that feels very different than saying, I have a mind that is aware, 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 aware. I just said our mind is just an idea, which makes it feel very unreal, doesn't it? No, my mind's my only reality. Right. As an idea laid onto moments of awareness. Then this collection of present moments throughout my life is conceived of as me by that very mind that we just showed is nothing but an idea. Do you see how real ideas are? Concepts are real. Concepts are our world. Concepts are also empty of self-existence, have the potential to be anything at any moment for anybody. Well, if I'm nothing but an idea, both my body, my mind, my me, let's just have a different idea. But our concepts aren't chosen or wished, are they? They're forced on us. Who's doing the forcing? Knock it off, God. No, our own karma is doing the forcing. So it can force us into Buddha you and Buddha paradise emanating in some current moment of awareness that will perpetuate itself and perpetuate and perpetuate and perpetuate in the same way that me suffering being me in a suffering world is perpetuating, perpetuating, perpetuating. Never the same two moments in a row, but never not existent. And feeling very real, and it is as karmic seeds ripening, but it isn't as in it from it. Mm. So when our mind is lumping bits of information that come from our sensory apparatus and coming up with material changing things, we're taking the raw data and the mind's putting on the conception of what that raw data object is. And then we're also doing the same thing with mind. These moments of awareness are the raw data that are lumped together into me and my life, me and my mind, my awareness happening, my experience. Then part of the concept for a non-Arya is in it from it, right? We use the term self-existent, meaning the identity of the thing is being imposed upon us from it. And we think the same thing with our mind, that we have an it, okay, that is being aware of things, those self-existent things. So then we think that, okay, it must exist independently in order to experience those other things. If we weren't independent of those other things, we wouldn't really distinguish between us and those other things. And then you couldn't really say you have an experience of other things. It doesn't make sense. We have to exist independently. But technically, independently means right? Completely free of influence from. And when we think of it that way, it's like, that's ridiculous because even my self-existent me is influenced by everything I experience, right? And that's a direct experience that I'm influenced by everything. So as I hold my deep belief, self-existent me, my very life contradicts it, but somehow it doesn't rock the belief. It's really crazy. So does anything exist independently? No, everything depends on something else. So in English, this word is slippery. We say something exists independently, or I am finally independent, says the teenager to the parents. But then there's also the phrase independence upon, which means complete opposite of independent. Independent means free of influence. Independence upon means only because of that influence. So when we're talking a self-existent thing, we're looking for something that exists independently. And when we go looking for it, what we find is, oh my gosh, no, every moment of that, whatever I'm looking at, exists only independence upon something else. So this thing we call my mind exists only independence upon these moments of awareness, going, 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 going. So now it's not like a leaf flowing on the stream. The mind is what we call this stream of awarenesses. It's not a thing separate from that. And yet, even as I say that, it's like, no, it is the thing doing the moments of awareness. Like I had no, I'm the one ripening the karma. Where I think we've said before, no, I'm not the one who has the karma and experiencing the ripening. I am the karma. Moment by moment by moment, ripening plantings, that is me. We're coming to a similar conclusion about the mind and its moments of awareness. It's not a mind that has moments of awareness. The changing moments of awareness is what receives the concept mind, my mind, me and my mind. Okay. So at any moment of awareness, which is really all we have, what that experience is karma ripening. Whatever the awareness appears as, feels like, looks like, hears like, smells, that concept, that experience is karma ripening. Not karma over here ripening into the experience. That's what we mean by karma ripening. This moment of experience, this one, this one, this one, this one. So if that's the case, then the conclusion is there can't be any self-existent moment of my mind because we just showed ourselves that this thing we call my mind is simply the conception put on the current moment, string of moments that makes up me. Does that mean we have no mind at all? No. Does that mean we used to have a self-existent mind and now we know we don't? No, we never had a self-existent mind. Did we misunderstand and think we had a self-existent mind? You bet. I still do. Is it real, that self-existent mind? No, not only is it not real, it's impossible. It's non-existent, right? I say there's no such thing as non-existence, but there is the non-existence of a self-existent anything. But it's funny, to be non-existent kind of implies you had to be existent to become non-existent. And so in that way, our self-existent mind is not non-existent. It just never was. No such thing, impossible. And it's refreshing to get glimpses of that. Whoa, this thing I've been clinging to so hard, big mistake. But it takes this deep understanding because, right, we could fall off the cliff. Sarani said, I have no mind at all. I heard her say that. No, I didn't say that. But it could be misunderstood. So, because our mind and our body have no self-existent building blocks from which they are made, we can have the me with my mind and my body that we do. Changing, 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 changing. Never the same 2 moments in a row and never non-existent. Every moment ripening results of causes made by, the punchline. How that me perceived itself interacting with others in the past. Responses to past conceptions makes the current conceptions. Is that happening moment by moment? Yes. Is cause result happening moment by moment? Technically, yes, but not the result from that cause, not result from the moment before. Result ripening is from long ago imprint. Always a result, always cause being made. New cause for new result being made. But the relationship is not moment by moment by moment. And yet there's mind movement moment by moment by moment. Okay, the process happening. Karmically existent moments of consciousness, karmically existent moments of awareness of physical experience, karmically driven. Oh, so karma is the basic building block, right? At some point we go doing that too. No, there's not a thing called karma, Mr. Karma. Karma is the term, the concept we use to describe the process of experience, me and my world. Our belief in self-existence, in my own opinion, I want to cling to my belief in self-existence so strongly because it always leaves something or somebody to blame for what I'm experiencing, right? I don't have to take personal responsibility for every moment of everything if I can find something that exists independent of my karma ripening. So there's a part of me that keeps saying, no, no, like, no, ideal, I know everything is this, but but, right, when I had a really like a frustrating hour yesterday trying to solve a problem, and this computer that's supposed to make things so easy just, and I was about to pop, and I watched my mind go, "Ooh, it's because of them. It's because of that. It's because," it's like, shut up in there and just burn this off, right? So I finally did laugh and made myself a list so I wouldn't forget and left it. But I caught myself like trying to find something to blame for being so upset. It was so stupid. Let's take our break. I'm trying to get to Tanya Takpe. Yes, Olga.
So Lama Sarani, so what I had understood before, it's like seeds are like happening and then mind is it's experiencing. So what I understood now, it's like it's not like that. Mind, it's also seeds and seeds are happening.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mind is part of the ripening.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, Okay, are we back? So there's this peculiar question on your homework. It says something like, what do we call when you go looking to find some objective reality to something and you investigate deeper and deeper? And it's like, what do I call that? What do you mean? The question's really saying, what's the phrase that we use for that process? So this is a fun Tibetan tongue twister that when I took my review courses, one of them from Winston McCullough, and he was teaching this one. And we were doing it live, over a long weekend. And he had us saying this like a mantra, going around in between classes. Tanye takpe takdun sowe tsene manye. Tanye takpe takdun sowe tsene manye. Tanye takpe takdun sowe tsene manye. It's like really hard to say for me anyway. Tanye means term, meaning the mental image, the concept of the object, which isn't just the word pen, but everything about this experience. The term pen. Tanye, the term. Takbe, to impose. To impose the term. Takdun, raw data. Selwe tsene means at the time we look for it. Selwe is to look, and sene at the time. Manye won't find. What it's saying is that when we go looking for the thing that gets the label, Tanye Takpe, we'll never find anything except something new that's receiving a label. So Geshe-la rephrased that when we go looking for a thing that we think of in a certain way, we'll never find anything except something new that we are thinking of in a certain way. Right? So it's not when we go looking for the thing that gets the label, we won't find anything. It's that we always find something more subtle that receives a different label. So some information receives color, shape. That information receives pen. That information receives my pen. That information receives my favorite pen. Keep your hands off it. That information, right? It goes. But to hear myself say that, my mind hears, oh, so the information is always there first. And we already looked at that. There can't be a most subtle piece of information that's already there. There's only the process happening. And so every process happening, the data receiving the label, every label, every process data receiving label is pushed by this process we're calling our karmic seeds ripening. Wait, I lost my train of thought. None of it has any existence outside of that process happening. Nothing that we can directly physically experience, no emotion, no thought, no subtle awareness. None of it is outside this process of ripening, planting, ripening, planting. And that reveals this all potentiality of any moment. All right. But our mind will still say, yeah, but where does the raw data come from? And it's like, I want to say there's no answer to that question, but there is an answer to that question. It comes from our karma when we are looking at the raw data. The raw data is our karma looking at raw data. There is no raw data when we're seeing the pen. But when we're looking for the pen, what we find is a concept onto raw data. Then when we look at its raw data, we find a concept onto a more subtle raw data, but it's not that there's any raw data other than what's being conceived of as raw data at the moment we're looking at raw data. If we don't examine matak machepar, the pen is here, our label term pen, it makes this pen. And our label term pen includes writing, so I can write it. Our label term pen also could include pin my hair up if I had hair. Because there are other things that we can do with pens as humans. And if it were pen in it from it, we couldn't do that. Yeah, it would be saying, no, don't you dare pin your hair up with me. I'm a pen, not a hair clip. They don't do that. So matak machepar tanye tsemme dru means when we don't analyze and don't examine the word, the term and word, where is it? Matak machepar tanye pe. Tsemme dru means Tsemme is valid perception. Drup means establishes existence. If we don't examine for the name and the term, our valid perception of the object establishes it. Right? Second school level, other schools agree. Existence is established by valid perception. Anything we perceive validly exists for us, in that way for us. Valid perception means not hallucinating, not drunk, not so sick we can't see straight. Valid. Not all valid perceptions are correct. In fact, none are till we're Buddhas, but valid makes things real, but not in the way we're validly perceiving them. All objects in our world can be established as existing through that reasonable perception that thinks of them in certain ways without analyzing their ultimate nature. Just experience things, let them be, things work. Geshe-la says even Buddhas just experience things. The world of things exists out there for them, no problem. They use them and they experience great bliss perpetually. They use those things to benefit others. But if we want to stop suffering our own and everyone else's, then we need to go through this analysis of the existence of those things. just to find out that they aren't real? No, but to recognize the ramification of showing ourselves every moment that I am experienced is a forced conception, forced by the ripening of my mental seeds, my karma. Where did that karma come from? My behavior, my past deeds, body, speech, mind, that this mind perceived itself thinking, doing, saying towards what it perceived as other. When we go looking for the self-existent me and find only a karmically existing me, the ramification is, if I want a happy me, I can only make a karmically happy me. If I want to continue suffering me, I just continue behaving like a regular old me. It's not a bad me, but it's not stopping suffering me either. So when we've done this, go looking for the thing that gets the label. With enough things and enough parts of ourselves, we'll start to catch on. Whoa, at every level, it's karmic seeds ripening. It's something this me has created from my past behavior. That means my current behavior is where I create my future. Do I create my very next moment future in my this moment behavior? No, but it's my reaction or my response to every current moment experience through which I am creating future experiences. And fortunately or unfortunately, those seeds grow. Right? It's a good thing that they grow. When we do a kindness, it's a bad thing that they grow when we do a selfishness. And they grow either way. So the deep, deep ramification of this going looking for the thing that gets the label and will only find something more subtle is to recognize that all other worldviews about where happiness comes from are all mistaken. The only one that in fact works is the one where our conclusion is, I am nothing but my karmic seeds, and so I can create karmic seeds for a world full of abundance and beauty and safety and perpetuated happy beings everywhere, right down to the worms and gnats dancing all the time. So we're trying to get to that conclusion again and again and again, because until we have the conclusion directly once, we have to keep reminding ourselves. Once we no longer believe, we don't theoretically have to keep going through it, although we will. Okay, so Master Shantideva, he goes, so therefore, compassion is the key. The key of or from the perfection of wisdom is compassion. And it's like, what? Like, what's this connection between emptiness and compassion? Like, hopefully it's not so weird. It's like, yeah, of course compassion is the key, the connection. So he's laid this on his audience, and apparently somebody says, wait. If this is true, that there's no person as a whole and no person as parts of the body or the mind, then there's no person towards whom we do karma. So it doesn't matter if we have compassion. It doesn't matter if we do good deeds. Master Shantideva, you just showed ourselves that there's no self-existent me. And that means there's no self-existent you either. And that means there's nobody there to do karma towards. So that means nothing matters. Do you see the mistake? The person has heard no self-existent blah, 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 and come to the conclusion, well, then if there's no me like I thought I was, there must be no me at all. And it's like, no, that's not what we said. And hopefully, I mean, I know you're also well trained, you didn't go there, but Master Shantideva is pointing out that some people might when we're teaching it. And so we want to be careful. He says, come on. We're not saying that persons as whole things don't exist. It's not that their bodies don't exist, their minds don't exist. It's that none of those things exist independently of my projections forced by my karma. Okay? Each one of us is the my projections. So my karma is forcing me to see them as suffering beings because of my past unkindness before. If I use that opportunity to generate compassion, concern for their suffering, the wish to help them stop it, that colors the imprints I'm making as I experience them. And it's going to color my response to them. And that makes new seeds that will ripen greater kindness in my world, happier beings in my world. I can only see happy beings, whether it's myself or others, by being forced to do so by the ripening of my mental seeds. Happy beings are pleasant things. So the seeds planted for that pleasant thing would have had to have been some way in which I tried to be pleasant to others, especially in the face of some kind of suffering, whether it was my own or theirs or both. So because we are all empty of self-nature, we can reach this state of mind called enlightenment, but only by way of our behavior, which means our seed planting experiences that are colored with our compassion, and especially compassion colored by this wisdom. So there are three levels, three varieties of compassion. And so these are not in terms of order of quality, but they're the order in which Master Shantideva brought them up. So here's the three. Chula mikpe ningje, mikme ki ningje, and semchen samla mikpe ningje. So Ningje, we know that word is compassion. Compassion, we understand, is to to notice and be concerned with some other's distress, or let's just say distress, and to care, to want to help in some way. We call it care about someone's suffering, wanting to end someone's suffering. Meek is that word to see. So chu la mik pe ningje, the literal words chu is things, mik pe focuses upon, ningje, the compassion that focuses upon things. And the literal, like English literal, isn't very helpful. But what this is saying is there's a level of compassion that we can cultivate that comes about as a result of our growing wisdom, that understands that all suffering is born of the karma of past behavior. And at this level, the one who has the compassion is experiencing someone else's, seeing their suffering, and is focusing on that other being and their parts, meaning their truth, meaning their experience, the experience they're having that looks suffering, right? Looks to me like they are suffering. And this level understanding sees that other person and believes, thinks, holds, oh, poor them. They are ripening karma from past negative behavior. They may or may not know it. And their past karma is causing them to suffer. And if they could understand about karma and emptiness, they could respond differently to their distress, and they can burn it off and plant seeds for new, and they could come to end their suffering. And so I will try in worldly ways to help them, but they need to learn about karma and change their behavior. Right? That's a beautiful compassion. That's not just, oh, you're hurting. Can I get you a heating pad? Which that's a beautiful compassion. Because maybe it's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're hurting, see ya. The person with compassion tries to help and has this understanding. It's your karma. Let me help you fix your karma. Now, here's the rub. If that person is hurting, like probably even if they understand a little bit about karma, they don't want to hear your lecture on karma. Right? They want the heating pad. Thank you very much. Then later, we can teach them. But what if your headache's over, that person comes back to you and says, sit down, Joanna, I want to tell you where those headaches really come from. You are a pain in the neck to somebody in the past, and that's why you're having headache. How's Joanna probably going to respond to me? Imposing my view on her. Yeah, thank you very much. Don't call me, I'll call you. So this compassion is very beautiful. But if we impose ourselves on somebody, it's not so compassionate. We know what we do is skillfully tiptoe around and get them to ask. And once they ask, all right, you've got an audience. So I don't mean to say don't cultivate this kind of compassion, but don't then impose your growing worldview on someone who isn't interested. Rather, show by example. And it won't be long before they're asking you about stuff. And then they're open and ready and ripe. And they'll probably catch on faster than you did. That's my experience. So then the next one, not meaning next, but another level of compassion is Mikme Ki Ningje. Do you remember in our Thousand Angels of Bliss mantra, there's the Mikme Sewe Turchen Chenrezi, right? And that's Chenrezi, loving eyes with nothing it sees. Wait a minute, right? And it doesn't mean they're blind. It means they see the empty nature of the three spheres of everything. And so their love is extraordinary. Like again, how does no self-existence stir forth love, stir forth compassion? There's a deep connection there. So this one, Ningje, the compassion that sees nothing, Mikme, sees nothing. Again, not a blind person with compassion. The compassion that sees the emptiness of the circumstance. Well, didn't the previous person also maybe not see it directly, but understand emptiness? Yes. But this one is the compassion which focuses on the other person and their suffering and sees nothing at all that they seem to be, which is a them in them with their suffering coming from them, even their suffering coming from their karma. But wait a minute, it is. But no, the suffering I see them having is coming from me, my karma. Does that mean the other person doesn't have karma for their suffering? I technically don't know what they are experiencing, do I? They may say, yes, yes, I have this whopping headache. And I know what a whopping headache feels like. But I don't know if that's what their whopping headache feels like. Does that negate their distress? Not at all. This level of compassion understands that it's my seeds ripening to see them in pain. And so it compels me to try to do something because I want to plant the seeds to be able to help, to be able to be the one that helps everyone. And of course, underlying, there's still a me that wants to get help when I'm hurting. But we're really beyond that as a motivation at this level. It's the compassion that grows out of this knowing that there's nothing that this me can experience that's outside of my karmic seeds ripening. Nothing. Everything is my personal responsibility. Ow, right? That's the step before bodhicitta, remember? In the 7-step cause and effect method, everything is my personal responsibility. And so I can't really know how to help until I'm omniscient. I have to reach Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. I have to. And the way that I will bring that about is by just trying to help others. Just trying. Because I can't really help others. I can see myself try. I can plant the seeds to try. What I see, how I see them respond, what result they get is also my seeds. What they experience is their seed. So maybe what I do, they see as helpful. Maybe what I do, they don't. If I see people rejecting my efforts to help, it's because I've rejected others. Knock it off. Accept help if you want your help accepted. Yeah. So highest level compassion is this compassion that validates every suffering that we see and recognizes I can burn that off and create kindness so that there's no more in my world. But did you notice what your mind just said? I don't know, mine goes, great, Sarani, you'll make your own Buddha paradise and leave everybody out there still suffering. And it's like, no, because there isn't an everybody else out there left suffering when I change my seeds to Buddha paradise for everybody. Might there still be beings who see themselves as suffering beings? Yes. And that's what my love turns into emanations. It's there helping them. All right. Last, third compassion to talk about is Sem Chen Samla Mikpe Ningje. This is, Semchen means living being, Semla means merely, so Semla goes with the Mikpe. The compassion that focuses on merely a suffering being. This is the compassion where we focus on an unexamined, unanalyzed person who's suffering. To be willing to notice, recognize someone's distress, and to care even a little bit about it in ordinary way, human way. This is this compassion. Many of us learn early in life to look the other way from other people's distress because we're so limited in what we can do. And then this teaching is saying, push ourselves to be willing to look at least and recognize our limitations, to grow our spiritual practice. So just plain old compassion, it's a good thing. Although it's painful, right? It's bittersweet. When we have this kind of compassion, we don't know anything about the root cause of that pain. So we don't really know how to help somebody. So we help in worldly ways. And it does help temporarily sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. But it doesn't help them, it doesn't help them learn where the real cause of suffering comes from. And although acting with more compassion than we ordinarily would does help us because we're gathering goodness, and sooner or later that goodness will push us in the direction of finding out where suffering really comes from. But ordinary compassion isn't itself the cause of the end of suffering. So someone's been listening to all of this. And finally they say, wow, this is extraordinary, but come on, is it really doable? Can we really reach nirvana? And Master Shantideva says, of course, we can all reach nirvana because the truth stands on two legs and the lie stands on one. Meaning, the mistaken view that the way we get our needs and wants met is to go and get them, right? To do whatever we feel we need to do to get what we want and to avoid what we don't want is not the way that we actually get the thing that we want. And although we've been in the cycle of the mistake since forever, the truth that it doesn't work finally shows up, because sooner or later that dead tree gets in a storm that's big enough that it falls over. That misunderstanding, get what I want, avoid what I don't want, is a mistake. And it can't hold up. So it especially can't hold up when we're getting glimpses of what it is to stand on two legs. Method and wisdom, karma and emptiness, dependent origination and emptiness, profound dependence. So that last question in your on your Geshe degree, Geshe-la says after that week-long debate is, does samsara have an end? And then the answer after a long process is yes, because the truth is more powerful than the misperception. And everybody shouts hooray, and they have a big party. So, like he says, so now you know, right? Remember, his audience at this time had not heard the pen thing already 1,000 times. So he was talking to people that were quite less sophisticated than you guys are. But now we know even deeper. The conclusion of nothing has any nature of its own then is love and compassion. And if that's not automatic yet, then we want to keep working on it in our meditations, in our outer life, until that becomes so automatic we can't be anything other than loving compassion. And I'm far from it, I admit. But I get these glimpses and how beautiful it is. Okay, so that actually finishes our class 8. And I had thought to start into class 7 because it's also a really long one. And I stopped here for the evening class because it was late for everybody and they all looked blurry-eyed. But you guys look pretty bright. Shall we just start a little bit into class 7? Make it? No, I saw a funny face from Joanna. I still have 10 minutes. Oh, Kong Lee has a question. We'll do it after Kong Lee. Let's just start into class 7. So uh there's a deeper way to investigate my mind and my body into the greater details that I said before we don't have to do. If we get the basic building blocks, there's no such thing. But in our daily life, we are experiencing my body and my mind in a more detailed way as in the 5 heaps. Pungpo na is the term. Na is the number 5. Heaps means, right, a group, a whole bunch of stuff piled into a pile. And we've learned those 5 heaps. They are listed in terms of increasing levels of subtlety of experience. So the least subtle experience, meaning the most obvious, is our heap of form, suk, our physical experience of our body, of our outer world. A little bit less subtle than that is our heap called feeling, not meaning emotions, meaning that raw thumbs up, attraction towards something. Not even I like yet. It's not that. It's just, ooh, pleasant versus unpleasant versus who cares if there is such a thing. And that on Sorwa, we have a thumbs up physical, thumbs down physical. We have a thumbs up mental, thumbs down mental. And then they don't distinguish between the two they call neutral. So really in this feeling, right, there are different aspects of it, but it's just this going on constantly. And it's said to be pretty obvious. And it's like, it wasn't until I heard about it that I recognized how obvious it is. And so it's worth just exploring. Can we even recognize this subtle, like yes, no, no, yes, no thing going on? Then third, which is a little more subtle, it's called douche. It's the discriminating between things. How being able to tell one thing from another. Pen from paper. Long from short. Daytime from nighttime. Distinguishing between things. Which, just to say it like that, still implies there is a pen and there is a piece of paper and they are two different things, implying there's something in them that I'm just recognizing as two different things, right? Technically, we're going to explore and say, oh my gosh, I'm making that distinction between things. It happens, like these are happening. At some point, we think of them as happening sequentially. But they can't actually be happening this one, then that one, then that one, then that one, right? They're all like in there, like a smoothie, right? It's all happening together. Then Duje is all those other factors. We'll come back to it. Namshe, the fifth one, the most subtle, is our consciousness. Right? Heart Sutra says all the kinds of consciousness that we possess are the consciousness of our visual information and the consciousness of our auditory. They are considered different consciousnesses. And it seems to me we've got one consciousness that now it's aware of eyeball stuff, now it's aware of hearing stuff, but apparently not, because that would be one awareness that's doing all these different things. And it's like, that self-existent awareness. Wait a minute. It doesn't mean there's a I awareness that's sitting over here not doing anything when you're not seeing, and then think it shows up. Right? There is I consciousness happening as we're seeing, ear consciousness happening as we're hearing. Can we see and hear at the same time? Seems like it, but if we try to focus on the consciousness of seeing or of hearing, we can only do that one at a time. So namshe. And then there's also the consciousness of thought, which sometimes is considered another sense, but isn't a physical organ sense. And then duje is all the aspects of our experience that does not fall into one of the other heaps. So they're called compositional factors. Geshe-la says that's a mistranslation of the Tibetan words. What it means are these emotional responses that we have to our experiences. And so it's these different mental functions. Abhidharma says there's 46 mental functions. Others say there's 50 something. But of however many there are, seems to me like there's a whole lot more. Two of them, two mental functions that should have been lumped into all the other factors that make me up, are the feeling, sorwa, and the discriminating between things. Those two are mental functions happening. But those two are separated out as their own heaps because those two are the underlying factors in all the other mental functions and all of our reactions to all the rest of our experience. So Lord Buddha differentiated feeling and discriminating between thing mental functions out of the fourth heap as separate heaps because they are the source of the reactions that we do to get more of the thing that's causing the thumbs up and to get less of the thing that's causing the thumbs down that makes me perpetuate my misunderstanding and my selfishness that perpetuates suffering. So that's how we end up with these five heaps versus just body and mind, because mind has all these other aspects to it. And we want to go learning how to recognize how my heap of feeling and discriminating are influencing all my other factors, because that's where my reactions come from. And if I can weave my way through understanding that better, I can have more power in choosing my new behaviors in order to create my world in a different way. Yeah? Okay, that's good. That'll get us started. But you can at least now finish your homework 6, please. So remember that being we wanted to be able to help. We learned a lot that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, to share it with everyone we love, to share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom, and may it be so. Okay, thank you. Kongli had a question that I'll stay for. If you need to go because we're late, feel free.
Hello, teacher.
Okay.
Today is a bit too much of information. Mentally tired.
Yeah, understand.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. My question is, today's topic, and then last week topic. What is the relation that, you know, we the title I can see is Bodhisattva ways of life, wait, the emptiness of the part is a number 6 title, and what is the relationship this one with the Bodhisattva way of life? Because I can see that, this one is like the studying of emptiness into very details. So, and I just want to know the relation, this topic with the title, the Bodhisattva way of life.
Because if the Bodhisattva way of life is about planting the seeds to reach total Buddhahood, we have to show ourselves that there is not a shred of self-existent existence possible anywhere.
In every single details, like, the past and
Right.
our mental,
Right.
and even topic number 7, even the hips, in
Right.
every single way, this
Right.
are all empty.
Right. Even our Buddhahood, even our ignorance, even karma, even our wisdom.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
Yeah, every detail.
Mm.
So we're learning the method to do that.
Part by part,
Part by part by part. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay. Thank you. All right, I'm stopping recording. Joanna, I'm gonna stop the video and then come right back, okay? All right. Thank you, my dears. I love you. Thank you for the opportunity. Stop recording.